Okay, how's everybody? 67 Mustang coming along. You can see now that we have the front end on. I did fit the doors. For those of you that remember from the Bronco build, this is where the whole world starts. This is very important vertical. This very important horizontal. I have to come to a right angle here. Horizontal at the rocker, vertical at the hinge post or hinge pillar. I want to make sure that my door is running parallel to the horizontal rocker, and then I should be, with my adjustments, I should be vertical at my hinge pillar, okay? Now you can see that I put green tape on both edges, on the top edge of the rocker and at the bottom edge of the door. A lot of times you see a gap leaves a shadow, and of course that door is E-coat black, E-coat meaning electrostatically primed, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But so I put some bright tape to contrast the shadow. That way I can easily recognize a parallel gap to make sure that my door is parallel with my horizontal panel being the rocker. Now, I put my door on and I made sure that I had proper clearance of my windshield post to my door so I can have easy access, easy open close, no obstructions. And the other thing I want to make sure that whenever I fit my door is when I am flush here, I want to be flush there. That is going to tell me if my door is away from the hinge pillar properly. Okay? Then once I get my door in place, that is a fixed panel. It is no longer adjustable because it is fitting with the non-adjustable panel called the rocker. The rocker panel is non-adjustable because it's welded on. So now the door fits the rocker. Now that the door is fit to the rocker, now the door becomes a fixed panel. And then I went to test fit my fender. Now I've already taken my fender off. I apologize for that. I do have some steel pictures that I could put on the link. But I wanted to make absolutely sure that my fender fit, and how I did that is I just, after the door was fit, of course, I just put my fender on like I would. And when that fender lays on there and I get a gap between my door and fender vertically, that tells me that this front section or apron is in the right place. It's not too high and it's not too low. You see, if this was not properly fit, let's say that I welded this on and it was too low. Well, what would happen would be, when I put the fender on, I'd have a gap so wide here that I could throw goldfish through, and I would have a fender that was overlapping here because the fender would fit like this because this was welded too low. So let's say that I welded this apron on, and I welded the apron on and it was too high. Well, when I would lay that fender across this top's apron here, if I welded it too high, I'd be overlapping here and I would be throwing goldfish through this gap right here because the fender would be too high. Okay? Now, that's a common sense approach. I always measure. And I also have in my possession a set of what we call centerline gauges. And you can see this apparatus right here with the little yellow stem on it. Well, if you notice, there's two more back there. And I will go to the back to show you how to properly read this. But I've got centerline gauges that I can make sure that everything is centered, and I can also make sure that I have proper datum. Now that's fancy, okay? That's fancy. I've been doing this for a little over 40 years, and within 40 years, you should probably accumulate something fancy. I mean, they're used, but they're very good. They've been very properly maintained, and I'm sure that they're half that age. I can guarantee you that they're over 30 years old, but if it works, don't fix it, right? Okay, so before I go too far, back to the door. Now you got to understand, the door and the fender fit, okay? And remember, quite a while back, we built the torque boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, okay, we can understand that we can't see those torque boxes on the outside because they're actually right here. And they actually box the 4 corners of the passenger area, okay? 4 of the strongest points on the car, and thank goodness they are surrounding the perimeter of the passenger compartment. Okay, so we've gone a long ways, and if you also remember, we could not put this on jack stands because the car was so weak. But we built the center section first, and then we could secure the center section to build the front, which we have. And now, just this morning, we've started on the back. Okay? Now, I've already taken the wheelhouse off. Somebody had put that wheelhouse on there, the outer wheelhouse, and it was a pretty shabby job, so it didn't take much to take it off. And once again, somebody used silicone. And remember, silicone attracts and traps moisture. It is terrible for automotive repair, so please don't use silicone. Make sure that you use an approved auto body seam sealer, okay? So I just kind of wanted to catch you up on where we are and where we're going. We've got 2/3 of the car built, so we are working on the last of the 3 sections, which is the rear section. Remember, once again, that we have a front, mid, and rear when we divide up a car, okay? The center section being the most important, because once we get that square, then we can use the center section to reference squaring up the front and or squaring up the rear. We can build a car. All we need is a right angle, here, a true horizontal and a true vertical, and a square center section. And then we can build any car, okay? So stay tuned. This is the wheelhouse that just came off the car. Somebody did a really poor repair, and it came off so easily that I'm going to clean this up and I'm going to reuse it because it is, I'm going to glass bead it and rust inhibit it and everything, but I'm going to be able to reuse that. However, to take care of this rust, and I've got a little hidden rust in here, I'm not taking any chances. I'm going to replace this whole inside wheelhouse. I've got an inner wheelhouse and an outer wheelhouse. On the passenger side, I've got an inner wheelhouse and an outer wheelhouse on the other side. So I'm going to brace this up, and then I'm going to get rid of this center inside wheelhouse, and I'll let you know how things go. Meanwhile, have a good day. Get out there, work on your project, measure, measure, measure. You don't get nowhere if you, cut twice and measure once, because it just keeps getting shorter. Okay? So Always measure twice, cut once, measure 6 times to cut once, whatever it takes. Just be careful what you're cutting, where you're cutting, why you're cutting. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.